Hi, welcome to Barb's Book Spot. Hi, welcome to Barb's Book Spot. I have 4 great books I'd like to share with you today. They're new into the ERL, and at the beginning of the semester, I'm always on the lookout for books that I think teachers can benefit a little bit from, as well as the students that you're reading to. So I'll just talk a little bit about them, and you can think about how they might be best used in your classroom, but I also think they're great for reading aloud just with your children at home, if that's what you'd like to do. The first book I'd like to share with you is called My Dog, Bob. It's by Richard Torrey. And we'll see Bob is quite a miraculous dog. He can do lots and lots of things. He's not your normal everyday dog. And so part of the charm of this book is that we have unexpected happenstance all the way through. This book is published by Holiday House. And let me just get to the first page here so I can share with you these lovely double page spreads. This is My Dog, Bob. Everything looks normal so far. Like all dogs, Bob loves to eat breakfast. Here you go, Bob. And here's where the unpredictable happens. Sometimes he makes it himself. So we see Bob cooking breakfast for the whole family, and we get the idea that this is going to happen throughout the book. I like to use a book like this for predicting. Ask the children, guess what happens next? What do you think Bob's going to do next? We get about halfway through the book, and everything's fine. We see Bob driving a car. We see Bob doing all kinds of things, playing golf even. And then we meet a little girl who brings her dog and says, "My dog's cooler than your dog. Truffles can catch a stick," Mimi said. "And Truffles can speak, and Truffles can sit." And she goes on and on, page after page, with all the dog-like things that Truffles can do. But Bob can't do any of those, and they're starting to get a little worried. We see, look at the face here. I'm always surprised at the expression that can be created with just little dots and lines in a face like that. So Bob's not measuring up in the dog world. In the end, the little boy says, "I'm sorry, Bob." "That's okay," said Bob. "Let's go get something to eat." And they go home to have something to eat. Pizza for all. I think this is a nice, subtle message that we're giving students and children, listeners perhaps, that, you know what, some of us have different gifts than others. Sometimes the very unexpected things we do are the most valuable things that we can do, the most interesting things we can do. And without any outside ostensible message, we're giving that subtle message to children that, yeah, everybody's got different gifts. So I like Bob. I'd like you to think about how My Dog, Bob might work for you and with your students. I have another dog book. I left the cover loose on this one. This one's called Ragweed's Farm Dog Handbook, Learn from the Best. And it's by Ann Vitcher Kennedy, and it's published by Candlewick. And again, these are all 2015 books. Here's the cover, but here's the cover under the cover. I always like it when the dust cover has something a little different, something surprising hidden underneath. So we've got the handbook for how to be a good farm dog, according to Ragweed. Now, Ragweed is going to tell you, "I'm Ragweed, I'm a farm dog, and I'm really, really, really good at it. Most dogs aren't. But you're going to be great because you have my handbook." And he goes on to tell us all the things that a good farm dog should do. I'm going to just read this to you because I think you need to get the feel of how it flows. Here's the first thing you need to know. The rooster wakes up early in the morning. That's his job. That's not your job. Don't wake up the farmer. You will really, really, really want to wake up the farmer, but don't wake up the farmer. If you do wake up the farmer, you can get a biscuit just to go away. Everything he does from now on, he does for a biscuit. If you do it, don't do it, don't do it. But if you do it, you'll get a biscuit. And I started to ask myself, what is the motivation for what we ask our students to do in the classroom. Are they doing it to get that biscuit? Is that biscuit a grade? Is that biscuit our approval? Is that biscuit maybe early recess or praise from mom, or what is it? So I thought, how do we get at that intrinsic motivation for our students? Take a look at this spread. Now about the chickens. Chickens sit on their nests and lay eggs. That's their job. Don't sit on their nests. You will really, really, really want to sit on their nests, but don't sit on their nests because, and I'm not going to read from here on, but you can see this lovely explosion of color and feathers and mayhem caused by the dog because he knows he's not supposed to do that. And in the end, you just pretend, he says, pretend you're chasing away the fox and you might get 3 biscuits. You can give 1 to the fox. Again, what are we doing to motivate our students? The story is very funny. You can laugh along as you get to the end. And when we get to the end, he talks about the pleasures of being a farm dog just because at the end of the day, you get to sit quietly with the farmer and you might get a biscuit. So think about this book. Again, I thought it was really fun. It's fun to read. It's fun to laugh out loud. It's fun to think about what Ragweed might do next. But I also think it's an important message behind there if you think about it from your perspective as a teacher or as a parent. Why are we asking people to do the things they do, and why are they doing them? Okay, this book is filled with imagination. It's by Faye Hansen, and it's called The Wonder. And this one is an explosion behind the loose leaf cover again. I like the dust cover, and then I look at the inside cover. And this book is full of surprises and full of lovely illustrations. This is a boy whose head is filled with wonder. He wonders where the birds are flying to. You've got your head in the clouds, says the park keeper, as the boy nearly steps on the freshly mown grass. A lot of little details, and his wonder, his imagination is represented usually in a brighter or a different color on top of these sepia tones. Waiting for the bus, he wonders, who makes the clouds? Wake up, daydreamer, grumbles the bus driver as the boy bumps into another passenger. So you get the idea. His head is in the clouds, he's wondering, he's daydreaming, and he's not doing what he's supposed to do for his get to school, in school kinds of jobs. We get to school, and he's in science class, and he wonders how the stars shine. And the teacher says, "You can't be scatterbrained in a laboratory," barks the science teacher. Pretty disappointing day so far, until he gets to art class. In his art class, the boy finds a blank piece of paper waiting, and at first he can't think of anything to draw. Now this is this boy with this vivid imagination. Just use your imagination, the art teacher said. Finally, permission. And he does. And I'm just going to quietly show you the next few double-page spreads because there are no words. They get brighter, they get more vivid, they get more complicated. The details are wonderful. And then the teacher says, "I'd like each of you to share what you've done." And in the end, I'm going to flip forward a little bit. We see that this little boy uses his imagination, and he has enough to share with everyone. So it made me stop and ask myself, are we encouraging the imagination and the inquiry and the wonder in our students and our children? Or are we stifling it by making them fill in the blank, use one white sheet of paper, do it this way, this is the way we do it? I'm thinking, where is the room for them to wonder and do things their own way and think of creative, wonderful ways? Because that's where our true geniuses have come from. They're the ones that did it a little different. So again, I love this book by Faye Hansen called The Wonder. The This last book doesn't quite fit the mold of the others, but I loved it because the language is just beautiful. It's a book about the water cycle. It's called Water is Water. It's by Miranda Paul, and the illustrations are by Jason Chin. This book starts before the story starts, and I always kind of like that. We see two children near a pond. They're looking at, it looks like a turtle in there. We can't quite tell. So they've gone to get something, maybe to capture that turtle. We get a setting, a little bit of the background. And then it begins to rain. Now, the story hasn't really started yet. We don't have any words yet. We just see the events taking place. But let me read you a couple pages. This is poetic text. Drip, sip, pour me a cup. Water is water, unless it heats up. Whirl, swirl, watch it curl by. Steam is steam, unless it cools high. A dragon in a wagon, a crow kneading dough. Clouds are clouds, unless, what do you think comes next? So again, we have prediction, we have a nice solid rhyme scheme that scans beautifully. We see seasons changing, colors changing. We've started in spring. I think we're now in fall with the red. As we go on, we see more children. The poetry goes on, the same pattern, always ending with unless, always having the answer on the next page with some rhyming word. We have winter. And then in the back, I just want to show you this. Sometimes we want to make sure that the books we share, that every child we're sharing with can see themselves in the book. And I love the way this book very quietly does that. We find that we have mixed race family, we have biracial children, we have all kinds of other friends, all kinds of races and ethnicities. And I think it's important to present diverse books just without pointing it out. Oh, look, this is a diverse book. It's just naturally in there. This is a naturally looking family, a natural group of friends. We don't have to say a word about it, but we've sent a message by the way we've modeled, the way we've chosen, and by having this book available. At the very end, I like this. They have back matter. We don't think of it almost as a nonfiction book because it reads like poetry or a story, but there's all about the water cycle. There's all about the seasons. There are actually 2 complete sets of pages of back matter. We've got identification of all of the things. We see the whole cycle of the book and all the creatures, a little bit about water and earth and why water is important. So it could be used in a science class, it could be used in a poetry class, it could be used as a model for a writing lesson, or it could just be wonderful to enjoy because there's beautiful language to share here. This book was published by Roaring Brook. Thanks for sharing books with me today. I hope to be back soon with some more great books to share with your students. Bye.